Have you ever been excited to tell someone about an idea, only to have them immediately point out everything that could go wrong? Or maybe you've had a really difficult day. You weren't asking anyone to solve your problem. You just needed someone to listen. Instead, they launched into a 10-minute lecture about what you should have done differently. We've probably all been on both sides of this. Sometimes we're the person who wanted support. Sometimes we're the person who couldn't resist giving advice. Today, I want to talk about why this happens, why even good advice can hurt, and how we can become people who help instead of accidentally discouraging others. One thing I've noticed throughout my life is that people often assume talking about a problem means you're asking for advice. But that's not always true. Sometimes people are processing their thoughts out loud. Sometimes they're celebrating an idea. Sometimes they're grieving. Sometimes they're just frustrated. Sometimes they simply want another human being to understand what they're feeling. Advice isn't the same thing as understanding. Understanding comes first. Advice, if it's needed, comes later. Why do we do this? I think there are several reasons. Some people genuinely want help. Some people are uncomfortable with other people's emotions. Some people think every conversation is a problem to solve. Some people enjoy showing what they know. And some people are anxious and immediately begin imagining worst-case scenarios. None of those necessarily come from bad intentions, but good intentions don't always produce good results. Growing up, my father often said something very simple: keep your mouth shut. At first, I thought he meant don't talk at all. But what he really meant was, don't feel obligated to say everything you're thinking. Don't be an open book. Just because something is true doesn't mean it needs to be said. Just because you notice something doesn't mean another person needs to hear it. Wisdom isn't saying everything you know. Wisdom is knowing when not to say it. You've probably heard the phrase, think before you speak. I think that's excellent advice. Before speaking, ask yourself these questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? Will it encourage this person or discourage them? Will they walk away feeling supported or criticized? Sometimes silence is kinder than words. Sometimes listening is more loving than fixing. Imagine someone says, I've got an idea. What's the first thing they probably need? Excitement, encouragement, and interest, not an immediate list of reasons it won't work. That doesn't mean we ignore problems forever. Constructive criticism absolutely has its place. But timing matters. There's a huge difference between saying, that's a wonderful idea, and later asking, would you like another perspective? People receive advice much better when they first feel heard. One of the best habits I've learned is asking a simple question. Would you like my advice, or would you rather I just listen? That one sentence can completely change a conversation. It respects the other person's needs. Sometimes they'll say, no, I just need to vent. Other times they'll say, actually, yes, I have no idea what to do. Now your advice is welcomed instead of imposed. Of course, there are exceptions. If someone is about to drive drunk, walk into real danger, or unknowingly harm themselves or someone else, speaking up is exactly the right thing to do. Love sometimes warns, but most everyday conversations aren't emergencies. Most of the time, people don't need rescuing. They need understanding. I've realized something over the years. The people I feel safest around aren't always the smartest people. They're the people who make me feel heard. They don't interrupt. They don't compete. They don't immediately solve. They simply listen. Ironically, those are often the people whose advice I trust the most, because they waited until the right moment. Maybe this week, before offering your opinion, pause for just a second and ask yourself, what does this person need right now? A solution or support? Sometimes the greatest gift we can give another person is not our advice, it's our attention. So before we close today, let me give you a few journal questions to help with this situation. So the first one, when was the time someone gave you advice when all you wanted was someone to listen? And how did that make you feel? And when have you unintentionally done the same thing to someone else? Are you more naturally a problem solver or a listener? And before your next important conversation, what one habit can you practice that will help you think before you speak? So, to sum up today's lesson, remember this. Not every conversation is an invitation to solve a problem. Sometimes it's simply an invitation to understand another human being. So this emphasizes discernment, knowing when to speak, when to ask, and when simply listening is the most helpful response. Thank you very much for listening today. I hope this has helped you, and if you think there is someone that needs to hear this podcast, please go ahead and share it. This has been Barb at Self-Help FAQ, and I will speak to you in the next episode.